V by Nikolai Gogol. Horror Novella. Part 1. As soon as the booming seminary bell that hung by the gates of the Bratsky Monastery in Kiev rang out in the morning, crowds of schoolboys and seminarians came hurrying from all over the city. Grammarians, rhetoricians, philosophers and theologians, notebooks under their arms, trudged to class. On reaching the seminary, the whole crowd settled by classes in low-ceilinged but rather spacious rooms, with small windows, wide doors, and dirty desks. The classroom would suddenly be filled with the hum of many voices. All these learned folk, both seminarians and boarders, while living in some sort of hereditary hostility among themselves, had extremely poor means of obtaining food, and therefore the voluntary donations of wealthy citizens were never enough. The most solemn event for the seminary was vacation, beginning with the month of June, when the boarders used to be sent home. Then the whole high road would be covered with grammarians, philosophers, and theologians. Whoever did not have his own refuge would go to one of his friends. Philosophers and theologians would go on conditions, that is, they would undertake to teach or prepare the children of wealthy people for school, and would earn a new pair of boots by it, and occasionally enough for a frock coat. This whole crowd would string along together like a gypsy camp, cook kasha for themselves, and sleep in the fields. Each dragged a sack with a shirt, a pair of foot rags, and provisions for the journey. The further they went, the smaller the crowd became. Almost all of them would have reached home, leaving only those whose parental nests were further away than the others. Once, during such a journey, 3 students turned off the high road in order to provide themselves with victuals at the first farmstead they happened upon, because their sack had long been empty. These were the theologian Halyeva, the philosopher Khoma Brut, and the rhetorician Tiberi Gorobets. It was already evening when they turned off the high road. The road went among stands of oak and hazel bushes that dotted the meadows. The plain was occasionally disrupted by slopes and small hills, green and round as cupolas. A field of ripening grain showed in 2 places, making it known that some village must soon appear. But it was more than an hour since they had passed the strips of grain, and no dwelling had appeared yet. Twilight was already darkening the sky, and only in the west was a pale remnant of vermilion radiance. "What the devil?" said the philosopher Khoma Brut. "It certainly looked as if there'd be a farmstead." "Maybe there'll be some farm further on," said the theologian, without releasing his pipe. Clouds made it gloomier still, and by all tokens neither stars nor moon were to be expected. The students noticed that they had lost their way, and for long time had not been walking on the road. Everywhere there was nothing but steppe, where it seemed no one passed. The travellers made another effort to move forward a bit, but everywhere was the same wilderness. A faint wailing came that resembled the howling of a wolf. "Well, what do we do now?" said the philosopher. "Why, we stay and spend the night in the fields," said the theologian, and he reached into his pocket to get his tinder-box and light up his pipe again. But the philosopher could not agree to that. He felt a sort of unbearable solitude in his stomach. Besides, the philosopher was somewhat afraid of wolves. "No, Kalyava, we can't," he said. What, lie down and stretch out like some dog without fortifying ourselves? Let's try again. Maybe we'll happen onto some dwelling and manage to get at least a glass of vodka for the night." At the word vodka, the theologian spat to one side and observed, "Sure, there's no point staying in the fields." The students went on, and, to their greatest joy, fancied they heard a distant barking. Figuring out the direction, they listened, set off more cheerfully, and, after going a little further, saw a light. "A farmstead! By God, a farmstead!" said the philosopher. The story continues in part 2.